The presentation of today's racing program is a copyrighted broadcast of the New York Racing Association, Incorporated. Any rebroadcast, recreation, or retransmission of this broadcast without the expressed written consent of the New York Racing Association, Incorporated is strictly prohibited.
Ladies and gentlemen, to honor America, please stand for our national anthem. And they're off. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to beautiful Belmont Park on the penultimate day of racing for this summer meet. We have mostly sunny skies. The temperature will be in the 80s. As we start the day, the main track is muddy and the turf courses are good. Portable rails are up at 18 feet on both the Widener and the Inner. And we have a jackpot carryover in the Empire 6 of $451,519, and there is a mandatory payout tomorrow. Here now the changes for today's 10-race card. In the first race, please note that all horses will carry 1 pound over. No changes in the second. In today's third race, note that number 2, Max Revolution, runs with a bar shoe off. A bar shoe off, number 2, Max Revolution, in race 3. Today's fourth race is the 44th running of the Ruffian. There's no show wagering, and numbers 2, 3, and 5 will be 2 pounds over. Race 5 begins the Empire 6. In the fifth, scratch 2, Yes and Yes, 4, Monkey See, Monkey Do, and 8, Famished. In the fifth, scratch numbers 2, 4, and 8. In the sixth race, the one horse is 4 pounds over. These horses will carry 2 pounds over. Numbers 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, 13, and if they do run, numbers 15 and 16 are also 2 pounds over. We have some scratches in the sixth. Scratch 10, Queen Kimberly, 11, Brovia, 12, Baby Girl, and 14, Cemetery VIP. In the sixth, scratch 10, 11, 12, and 14. On to the 7th. Scratch number 7, OK Honey. Scratch the 7, OK Honey. In the 8th race, scratch number 1, Kumar. Scratch number 1, Kumar, out of the 8th. In today's 9th race, couple of scratches. Scratch 11, He's My Lucky Fellow, and 14, Microscope. 9th race, scratch 11 and 14. And in today's 10th race, number 1 is 2 pounds over. Scratch the 2, Drop of Bourbon. Scratch number 2. 3, 4, and 5 are 2 pounds over. Scratch number 6, Apex Predator. Scratch the 6. Numbers 7, 8, and 11 are 2 pounds over. We now have a late scratch in the 10th race, an additional scratch. Scratch number 12, Second Fortune. Race 10, scratch the 12, Second Fortune, and number 13 will be 4 pounds over. Main track muddy, turf course is good. Empire 6 jackpot carryover of more than $451,000. We'll be back at 12:45 to recap the changes. First race post is at 1:15. Up next, the Saturday edition of Talking Horses with special guest host Acacia Courtney and the regular co-host Anthony Stabile.
the Belmont Park Spring Meet. We're glad to have you along with us. That's right, your eyes are not deceiving you. It's the A-Train, Acacia Courtney and Anthony Stabile. A little reunion.
Little A, what's happening?
It's a good day. It's a great day.
Yes.
I'm happy to be joining you today.
It's a lot of fun.
And tomorrow, filling in for Andy before the start of Saratoga.
Yes, we will wrap.
Happy to get to work with you.
Yeah, of course. Like the old times over at HRN. We'll wrap up the weekend here at beautiful Belmont Park. Amazingly, getting to stay on the turf today. As long as Mother Nature cooperates. Mother Nature outstayed her welcome yesterday as Tropical Storm Faye kind of hung around a little longer than the experts predicted. What else is new? I hang around a lot longer than predicted most times also, usually at dinner. But yeah, Faye hung around a little longer, dumped a lot of rain, up to 2.5 to 3 inches in some spots. As usual, the gang did fantastic. The entire maintenance crew, led by Glenn and Brian, did an amazing job on not only the main track, but the turf courses as well.
Yeah, main track is still muddy. There is still some moisture in it. It looks like from where we're sitting that it has been sealed, but turf is listed as good. We are on the turf today. Some rain expected later, but we've got a nice little breeze. It's sunny right now, so life is good.
Yeah, they got pop-up storms, maybe in the 4 to 5 o'clock area. Should be safe at the very least through the stakes race, which is early on the card race 4 for the Ruffian. So,
yeah, my boy girl.
We got some housekeeping to do, though.
We do. We'll get right into the card. We've got a 10-race card coming up. But first and foremost, remind everybody you can sign up with Naira Bets to play along with us. You get that $200 deposit match bonus. Use promo code MATCH200 on the Naira Bets app or at nairabets.com. Play any track, anywhere, anytime. We also have the 50-50-50 that we're bringing you today as well. It's nice to have a little bit of a feeling of normalcy throughout the day, as well as we've got Belmont Park, Keeneland, and Del Mar in action today as well. Bet $50 at each track, earn a $20 bonus. You can check all of that out at nairabets.com as well. So looking forward to that. Play that on the app. And as far as today's card does go, Anthony, as you said, 10-race card, muddy and good right now. Getting set for race 1. The entry, unsurprisingly, taking quite a bit of money. But we start off with 2-year-old fillies. There's a lot of unknowns in this kind of scenario.
Not surprised the guessing game has landed folks onto the entry. 2 for the price of 1. How could you go wrong?
Right.
And one in particular, Shaker Shack, the number 1. If I am not mistaken, I do believe that this is the first horse Carlos Martin is running for Roddy Valenti. And Roddy, of course, has had horses with a host of trainers, Linda Rice and Bruce Levine. His relationship with Bruce Levine is legendary. They've been together 20, 25 years, going back to Bustin' Stones from about a dozen years ago, even before that. And this is a daughter of Bustin' Stones. She'll debut Kendra Carmouche for Carlos Martin. My assumption is this is the part of the entry they're betting right now. Though the 1A, Bustin' Shuffle, has a very interesting move. This is a 2-year-old filly who on the 1st of July, so basically barely 2 years old, worked a mile. If we are to believe, and we have no reason not to, the past performances in here.
Yeah, it worked a mile in company with Bustin' Bieber, who's in tomorrow's 2-year-old boys race as well. And checking out the Clocker report, was not able to sustain through that mile. Pretty much went down to a walk.
Not surprising.
Right, at this stage of the game. So kind of an interesting move for sure. But I would imagine with just kind of, I guess, seasoning before the race, fitness wouldn't be something you'd be too concerned about. But yeah, Shaker Shack makes a lot of sense on the pedigree as well. Have to Oak Bluffs, who was turf, but also have to Bustin' Out, who was a good dirt sprinter as well. I landed on Classic Colors, filly by Street Sense. On the bottom side, the dam certainly has a lot of pedigree as far as her family does go, and precocity, so hoping that this one is ready to roll first ask with that good work last out.
And Christoph has fantastic numbers. He's second leading trainer at the meet behind Chad Brown. Yeah, a lot to like about Classic Colors. I thought if you were going to go on one of 2 places in here, was with the solid 1 or the 2. They're the 2 choices right now. They'll likely be the 2 choices to 6. She's a Dirty Dancer. Rudy, second time, gets blinkers. This is one of 2 in here who have some experience. I guess she's the 3rd one if you were looking for a little experience in these 2-year-old races. But she ran 5.8. She gets to 5.5 now. She still has an outside draw. Running right into that far turn here, it's just about a 3/16 of a mile run. I kind of want to be closer to the rail.
Yeah, interesting little way to start things off, coupled with experience there. As you said, there's always guessing game when it comes to the 2-year-old, particularly the 2-year-old fillies. As we flip the page, go to race number 2, 6.5 furlongs on the main track in this $20,000 claiming race. And the 2 Radiant Rhythm here, as we'll look at her last race, Anthony. I thought this race, first off the claim for Gary Gullo. Now she's got to try to take a step forward, second off the bench as well. But she's at just off the horses, showing speed pretty wide. It seemed like she had an opportunity to go by.
She did. She absolutely did. And you want to give her a little benefit of the doubt. It was almost a 4-month break, and she's trying to reel in Keep Your Distance, who came to play on June 14th. Really dug in nicely. But like you said, Acacia, dead aim here. Has her dead to right, so to speak, and just can't get by, making up very, very little ground towards the end of that heat. Look, she's going to get some moisture in the track. Now, like you said, it looks like the track is sealed. I imagine if this humidity and the sun stays out, some of this moisture will leave. I can't imagine that by post time for the second, there's not going to be some moisture still in this racetrack. I think, and I know that she has faster races on fast tracks, but Radiant Rhythm seems to handle a wet track better than her competition in here. Save Mo Flash, which is where where we both landed. They're the 2 that want some moisture in the ground, more so than the rest, I think, and I kind of landed to those 2.
I was just hoping that Mo Flash had a little bit of a tactical edge, too. I just didn't see a lot of genuine speed in this race.
There isn't any. It was tough to kind of figure out, and more often than not, what I'll do is I'll go to the rider, and we saw Jose Lezcano give a heads-up ride on Thursday, stealing a race on the front end where a couple other riders with horses that had speed did not show any speed. He went and loped along, and I shouldn't even say loped. He established a good-sized lead, what turned out to be an insurmountable lead. I'm not saying he's going to do that here with Mo Flash, but Jose's an aggressive rider. Jose wins a lot of the races he wins because he is an aggressive rider. I would imagine she's either on the lead or sitting off of a wild card that decides to show speed today.
Yeah, maybe Solitary Gem, but that horse is turning back in distance. I thought, especially if there's some moisture in the track and at this caliber of horse, I didn't want to worry about somebody having to pass in the stretch. I wanted somebody that was going to be forwardly placed.
I think the only problem, she got a little pinch at the start last time. She didn't do any running after that, though. That's my only problem with her, but she's going to be twice the price as Radiant Rhythm. They're the 2 for me. I'm going to try and just, as my buddy Steve Grabowski says, move the chains in the pick 4s and pick 5s with Radiant Rhythm and the top pick Mo Flash.
Moving on to race 3, 6 furlongs on the main track, $16,000, non-winners of 2 in life. And this race was a little bit interesting as well. The question is, can Cobble Hill, I think, repeat what he did last time out? And Rob Atras, maiden winners last time out in dirt sprints. 4 for 10 winning and 6 for 10 in the money with a big ROI. That's what I was surprised at.
When a barn wins as prolifically and it's such a high percentage as Rob's, you don't expect to see the ROI that high. And I think more importantly, the barn's starting to heat up. Rob and Brittany did not have the best start to this meet. Horses were running okay, got unlucky in a couple of spots, but a couple of wins yesterday. Barn's starting to run well now, and I think when barns like Rob start to heat up, you have to pay close attention because they're a little streaky, and what better time to heat up than right before you go to Saratoga. And this horse makes a lot of sense. His last race, his last race was his best race, and it kind of made sense because he was going to go one way or the other way. He was even money, he got the job done, but he improved in a big way over any race he had run prior last time out. It was second off the break. Now, he didn't have the break, the COVID break. He was actually off since last October. And he came with a good race first time back, and even better race second time back. If he takes a step forward off the maiden win, he's going to beat these horses.
Yeah, I landed on the one on top in here in Wayne's Footsteps, who I thought was kind of the other one. But the more I looked back at Cobble Hill, he could be very tough today. He was the only one really making up significant ground 2 back with the winner wiring the field. And then last time out, finally put all those pieces together. As far as Wayne's Footstep, I don't love that he drops off the claim, but they finally get to race him. He was claimed back in February. He does have a little bit more speed as well. And his last couple of races on a wet track, certainly last time out, he could handle it if there's any moisture.
I think after yesterday's racetrack where you obviously wanted some speed, I'm kind of glad the early double is on the dirt today, because by the time the third race comes around, and even the stakes for the Ruffian, which we'll talk about in a minute, you'll hopefully get a little bit of a grip on as to how the track is playing. If it's playing the way it was playing yesterday, I think you move Wayne's footsteps up. If it's not, I think he's a little vulnerable today. I put him second. He makes a lot of sense, but he's down inside. There's some other speed in here. If the track's playing the way it was yesterday, yeah, his chances improve greatly. If it's not, he may be under the gun. The other problem is, if these guys come into the room thinking the track's going to be the same way, you're going to see the Wild Wild West out there. I know Andy would yell at me for saying that, but I think you'll see horses that have some tactical speed, even more aggressive, just trying to take care of the presumed bias from yesterday.
Well, I think so too. I spoke to Dylan Davis after he won on a wire-to-wire winner yesterday, and he said he took note of the fact that halfway through the day, you wanted to stay off the rail and you wanted to have speed. He ended up winning the stake yesterday as well, doing that too. And
it's worth noting, he kept that horse, and even though it was an outside draw, he kept that horse outside.
Yep.
Liam's Pride was kept outside of the two of Long Weekend and Where's Craig?
Where's
Craig? Yeah. That's a race caller's nightmare, horses like that, where they're taking letters out and they're squishing a name together. He kept the horse outside. The filly you were talking about, Malibu Mischief, he put her in the 7 path at the quarter pole. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how the track changes. Listen, it's a muddy track. It's not sloppy. It's obviously drying out. The sun's out. It's sealed. We'll see how the track plays.
And it can change from day to day, so we'll see how it is going today.
It change from race to race.
Yeah, that is true for sure. Well, that's race 3. Our feature today, as Anthony was mentioning, the Grade 2 Ruffian in race 4, otherwise known as Monomoy Girls Return to Graded Stakes. It's a mile on the main track, and it certainly does center around her. This is her last race at Churchill, Anthony. She had a very long layoff. She was sent to Windstar Farm with colic. In her plan coming back to the races, she had a hamstring injury, plenty of setbacks, and this wasn't the 3-year-old Monomoy girl that we had seen, but she did get the win.
Yeah. So we talked to Brad Cox on HRN before this race, and you know, he wanted her to win. I got the impression she wasn't anywhere close to 100% last time out, and it turned out that race on paper, and it turned out on the racetrack that she didn't need to be.
Sure.
She wasn't. I mean, if you watch a horse race, you know she was not 100% cranked to win that race last time. She did not need to be. The variable that got thrown at Monomoy Girl last time was the wet track. She had never run on a wet track. Do I think she's the next valid appeal? No, I don't. But she handled it, and she's facing a little bit better today than she faced last time. And we talked about this last week a little bit with the Run Happy Met Mile. They're playing her game today. They're going a 1-turn mile. She's 3 for 3 at the 1-turn mile. She won the Acorn right here 2 years ago. We saw that she could handle the wet track last time. You know, if she ran an 85 buy number last time, she was probably 75% ready. She comes back to the old Monomoy Girl. She's just going to beat these horses.
The long-term goal, Breeders' Cup Distaff, and one thing I do think is really cool, just as an aside, that both she and Midnight Beast are back now as 5-year-olds.
It's amazing.
Love that. I love that.
Yeah.
So I think it's a treat that we get to see her for sure. And I think that this will be a good kind of test as to what we're going to see for the rest of her in 2020, what kind of status she's in right now.
No question about it. No question. Now, I think you can make some money in here.
Sure.
I think it's a cold number with Pieve Bianchi, who moves up on a wet track. She's going to get the blinkers back on, which I think is a curious move for trainer Carlos Martin. She ran with blinkers in the past for Doug O'Neill and Todd Pletcher. They came off during Todd's run with her, and Carlos took them off and won 2 in a row. Last time out, she was coming off the 3.5-month break. It was the first time she ever got beat on a wet track. That was just a kind of weird race. They kind of all ran in place that day. Honey, I'm Good got in front and just kept going. She only got beat 4 lengths. You got to think maybe she needed to knock the rust off a little bit. And now she gets a little bit of a wet track. And Dylan, who obviously figured out the enigma that is the Big Sandy yesterday when the rain came, I think he'll put her in the right spot. I think it's a cold 5-1. And, you know, if Monomoy Girl is not Monomoy Girl anymore, we've seen bigger upsets, the graveyard of favorites. I can tell you that right now.
That is for sure. Yeah, Carlos Martin, winner of this race last year with Come Dancing, looking to make it his own back-to-back. I took a stab with Vexatious in second. I don't love her at the mile. I think that she wants a bit longer, no matter what surface she's running on. But my hope with her is that with Jose Lezcano aboard, she could be kind of a little bit more forward, that she's not going to let Monomoy Girl run away from the rest of the field. And maybe that's what Pieri Bianchi will try to do as well, from the inside stretching out. But I could kind of see a scenario where Monomoy Girl is just on the front, and Florent Giroux, we know, can be aggressive out of the gate as well. So I'm hoping Vexatious can kind of be right there.
He can do what he wants with Monomoy Girl. I won't be surprised if Always Shopping was a little aggressive as well. They tried to be aggressive last time on the turf, even 2 starts back off the turf in the slop. It's also worth noting, in both Vexatious and Always Shopping cross-entered in the Delaware Handicap, which we'll have today.
That's right, on America's Day at the Races. Yeah, Dunbar Road.
Yeah, you guys will be covering that. They stayed here. I don't know who you'd rather run against. I think if you play the math game, though, you'd rather run here against 5 going the flat mile than down against Dunbar Road in a field of 8. So.
Well, we'll see what happens. Monomoy Girl, though, of course, the headliner in today's Grade 2 Ruffian. We're on the turf in race 5, 7 furlongs on the grass in this allowance race for 3-year-olds and upward. And looking at this field, we do have the MTOs still in, but as we mentioned, we're on the turf. It revolves around, I think, Honey Won't. Is this colt by Sold Out for Belmont going to make amends for that near beat last time out?
Wow, you know, he is... to me, he's a tough horse to take at a short price. And here he is. He's making up, he's gobbling up the ground, as Tom Durkin would say. Last time out, he falls a neck shy of Kitten's Cat. Kitten's Cat was favored in here. I want to say maybe Honey Won't was the second choice. This turned out to be a very formful event. Junior Alvarado's going to climb back aboard. He's ridden him a couple of times. He can win. Would I want to take him as the favorite? No, I mean, I know he's won 3 times, but he's stepping into the allowance condition, and more often than not, when he's tried to step up into this A other end, he's just found the water a little too deep.
Yep.
Now, he's not going to find, I don't think, an easier spot to win the A other end. He's probably not. But he's one of these horses that doesn't have any speed in the sprints, anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll see if he could overcome. He's run okay on ground with Giving It. He's run poorly on ground with Giving It. I think it just also shows the fact that these courses are good. And, you know, we don't... That course is labeled good, and it's good.
Yeah.
I think it shows you how much rain... how much we needed some rain here, because
yesterday was the first day we've been off the turf.
First race.
Yeah.
First race off the turf. So, yeah, he can win. Do I want him on top at 8-5? Probably not.
Well, look, he showed speed going a mile and 16th and the 2-turn mile down at Gulfstream. So I agree with you. I don't think he's going to be on the engine today. With Yes and Yes out of the race, I think that leaves Quarky, who we both landed on, to be the controlling pace in here. I think the argument before that could have been that Honey Won't might sit a good trip behind those two, and now that's not a conversation.
It's really not.
Yeah.
I mean, Quarky is, and again, you have Jose Lezcano aboard, so I think you have a little more confidence that the horse will be aggressively ridden because he's an aggressive rider overall. He's gone in here. This was a weird race to handicap because you had so many main track onlys in here.
Yes.
And you know,
you got to sift through.
And then you get Yes and Yes to come out, who did look like the speed. He wired them in the starter allowance last time, and now Quarky's just left on the front. I mean, I guess Mo Gotcha can be forward, but he's not Quarky fast. Now, I don't know what they're going to do with Duress. Tommy Albatrani made a nice claim. This horse won 2 in a row before going to the bench in November. You know, this horse probably going to need a race off the bench. But, yeah, I mean, Quarky looks really, really tough in here. Like I said, Honey Won't, he'll still likely be favored in here, but you really want, I mean, and he gets the 7 in his defense. He does get the 7, but Quarky's supposed to be able to control this race.
Well, what about the filly, real quick, the 6 Fregua? She's very intriguing. She showed speed in her 1 race in Italy, which was November of 2018 for Neil Drysdale. I looked, she was actually entered in July of 2019 at Del Mar. Didn't race that day, and now she comes back here today. She's been training sharply. She's a little bit interesting.
I had a friend of mine call me today and say, "Hey, there's a Drysdale with parentheses next to her name. You're not in today?" Because I love my Alexandra, as you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's the wild card, right? Who knows what she's going to do? Kendrick's aboard at 7/8. She hasn't run in, like you said, 18, 19, 20 months at this point. Again, you're going to try the fillies against the boys. You probably couldn't have handpicked a bunch you'd rather try it against.
Well, we'll see. This will be a good litmus test for her today, but it could be all about Quirky on the front end. Race 6, we stay on the turf, mile and a 16th here, maiden claiming for the New York breds. And we have a couple of horses rematching from that June 19th race. I went a little bit elsewhere. I landed on Stuytown Baby, but Lucky Locka's after that race, she's the one to beat.
Yeah, Lucky Locka's ran very well. Outside draw that day, first time out for Christophe Clement. Manny Franco stays. That was a race where there were a couple of trips, a couple of real trips in there. So maybe it looked like Lucky Locky's ran a little bit better than she actually did. I'll argue that it was first time out. It was that's a tough draw coming out of that chute. Well, was that on the? That was on the widener, so that's coming out of the chute. This one's on the inner, so it starts right on the turn. Better draw certainly today for either course. Certainly the way they start on the turn in this mile and the 16th race, you'd want to be closer to the rail again. Yeah, I mean, she makes sense. She's going to be a short price. People would argue with me that maybe you want to take a little bit better price in here. But I think if she takes the natural improvement and the natural step forward off the debut, she'll be tough to beat.
Oh, so she's the one to beat for sure. She certainly ran better than Courted, who also comes out of that race, and I think was kind of propelled forward a little bit more in the stretch with those closers, showing the speed. Women Not Easy has speed as well. She ran well on the turf last time out.
And Courted and Women Not Easy kind of get in each other's way in here on the front end. I would assume Woman Not Easy is going to get in front of Courted today. That's just me. And, you know, Woman Not Easy gets in front. We've seen Stranger. I mean, she ran really, really well last time out. Ray Lou's going to replace Manny, who sticks with the horse that's probably going to be the favorite in here. But I think they both make some sense.
I took a stab with Stuytown Baby, who I don't completely trust her. I don't know, but she was a bit ranked last time. I felt like she's one that could improve second off the bench, and more than anything, she's going to be a nice price in here. So I took a little stab with a long shot. Yeah,
I have the main track only, Choose Happiness in there just in case. The other horse that you could mess around with on the turf would be Go Fish. Your horse makes some sense. Even Fleeting Glance for Tom Morley. He's dropping down. Went the mile on the 16th last time, dropping down. Jose Lascano is going to ride. Tom has good numbers when he drops. So if you can get 6-1 on the morning line, I have the morning line. I have the PP since Wednesday. 6-1 on the morning line. I think this horse will be a little bit higher on the board. Maybe he's worth a stab too.
It's a really interesting race.
It's an interesting race.
Yeah, very interesting race for sure. As we turn the page now, we stick with the New York bred. Seventh race coming up next, 6.5 furlongs for this allowance race. We both land on good credence. Blinkers back on for this filly by Jimmy Creed. I hope she gets out of the gate today with the inside post.
Yeah, she had some trouble.
Yes.
2 starts back. She had some trouble last time out. One was off the 4-month break, other one's off the 2-month break. And she ran on last time. I liked her effort last time out. You know, she's more accustomed to being more forwardly placed. Hopefully those blinkers help her. I'll tell you what, too, regardless of bias, if there is one today, again, kind of under the gun from the inside, so you like to see the blinkers at the very least. Junior's going to have to jack her out of there and get her forwardly placed in here. You have some other horses in here that have speed. Fair Lassie has some speed, namely, but I'm hoping Junior just gets real aggressive and puts this filly on the front end today.
Yeah, watching the head-on of her last couple again, she kind of consistently takes a left turn at the break. And then back in October, the last time she wore blinkers, she was a little bit nervous in the gate, but she broke straight. So at least she came out in a straight line, which I think is going to help for sure. And even if she doesn't try to wire, just as long as she gets a little bit more position, she doesn't have to hustle up, I'm good with that. And single verse is going turf to dirt and could be forwardly placed as well. So I wonder what kind of pressure she's going to maybe put on with those inside 2 posts.
Yeah, with single verse, and I think this is certainly something to look at. If the moisture sticks in the track, I think she has her chances improve greatly because her wet track race is just better than any of her dry track races, and by a long way as well. It'll be interesting to see how Manny rides her, knowing that the main speed in here on paper really does look to be good credence, even though, like I said, Fair Lassie can show some gas as well. I'm wondering how much pressure Manny puts on good credence with single verse.
Well, that will be interesting there. And Bustin' Scones to the outside. Amira Shishakli, former assistant to Gary Contessa, been doing a very solid job so far. A couple of winners. Doing a great job. Beating just 3/4 of a length this horse at a big price last time.
Yeah, Bustin' Scones got loose, Quality Stones, rather. They're all stones and scones running around here. Quality Stones came off the break and got loose on the lead last time out and kept on going. I'll tell you what, this filly kept on trying. You can argue maybe the winner wasn't even best. Waylon Josie, who's back in here, had a little bit of a trip that day. Back with the same rider. You got Bustin' Scones in here. She's back with the same rider as well. So we'll see. And they both got beat by some loose speed last time. Kind of hoping the formula sticks today.
Yeah, we'll see if that works out for us for sure. 8th race coming up next, mile and a 16th
This was
here.
a doozy.
This is a doozy, that's for sure. I think the biggest thing about this race, and it's a $40,000 open claiming race, is that there's plenty of horses with back class, but who can you trust?
This is one of those races where, honestly, save American Lincoln. And by the way, Jesus Romero got Bitumen to win yesterday.
First win of his career, yeah.
So I'm not going to put anything past that guy. I don't know who Jesus is. Congratulations. He got Bitumen to press, put away the speed, and then hold off the closers. Bitumen 0 for 12 on wet tracks, got the job done. He might have been the most impressive horse that won yesterday here at Belmont Park. So I'm not going to put anything past him. Anybody can win this race. I mean, it's one of those races where now there's, on paper, a good deal of speed in here, right? I mean, like Tony always shows speed. I don't know what they're going to do with McErin. He's probably not fast enough, but I would think he's going to have to be forwardly placed.
I feel like that's kind of his only shot.
Yeah. You know, and then you have horses like Super Dude, who probably won't be too far off it. Han Sense, who does his best running when he's on or near the lead. It's supposed to be a crowded front end. They don't go fast around here. That's for you, Andy. But you got to figure there's going to be at least 2 or 3 of them trying to occupy the front end in here. And you would hope it sets it up for a horse from off the pace. You picked a horse that I came very close to picking today. Yeah. Because, like I said, I think you could sit here and make a case for any of them at this point.
I think you can, too. And the reason I landed on Han Sense, and we'll get to the 2 rematching from Churchill in a moment, because I agree. I think Heavy Roller could potentially sit the best trip in this race.
And that's ultimately, not to interrupt you.
Right.
I picked Heavy Roller.
Yeah.
I essentially picked the trip in here.
Fair.
Heavy Roller is supposed to set the right trip. I want the horse that's going to set the right trip in here because, quite frankly, a lot of them look the same. So I just want the trip.
When Han Sense won on a good track at Keeneland, so I'm thinking, okay, there's moisture today, that's no problem. It was when he was claimed away from Mike Maker, but then after he was claimed, Kelly Breen stepped him up to face Stakes Company, big high-level allowance company in his last few. I mean, he ran against Payne, Senior Investment in his last couple of races.
Sonny Ridge, Stan the Man, Adventist, who came back to win Al Bernardini, Senior Investment, and Payne.
Yeah.
What would any of those horses...
Oh, off the charts in here.
They'd be barred from wagering.
It's true.
So,
it'd be like Monaway Girl earlier.
Right. Yeah. They'd be barred from wagering. So makes the horse a serious player.
Yeah, that's my thinking. And when he won that day, he let another horse go. He didn't need the lead. He let another horse go on the front end. And it was a small field, so he can't be too far off of it. So he was right there in that stalking spot. But I was encouraged to see that he had a little bit of another dimension that he could potentially not need to be dictating on the front end. I think he's best when he can be forwardly placed, that's for sure, and that's my concern with him. But I was just thinking he could maybe slightly be the strongest horse in here. Mike Napoli, he's sharp. He likes to win races, that's for sure.
Yeah, the issue I have with him, and ultimately why I didn't put him on top, he does his best running on or close to the lead. I don't know if he's fast enough.
Sure, that's fair.
Laytone, I don't know if he's fast enough to keep up with a horse like Laytone, even McErin. And if they run away from him, it puts him in, you know, it puts him in a position where he's going to have to bank up 3, 4, 5 lengths, and I just don't think he's comfortable doing that. He can certainly win the race, but I went to a horse that is comfortable picking those horses up, and that's Heavy Roller.
And Heavy Roller Super Dude, they come out of that same race on May 29th at Churchill Downs, what will show. And Super Dude was kind of right up on that hot pace, the 5. Heavy Roller, meanwhile, and Jungle Warfare came outside of him with that clear closing trip. But all in all, Heavy Roller going there to Churchill ran very, very well for Rob Atras.
Yeah, he did. So my issue with him is his wins at the distance have all been around the 2 turns. And at 1 turn, he kind of gets the 1-turn races. He kind of lays a little closer than he does in the 2-turn races. It's almost like he's more keyed up, which kind of doesn't make any sense. He makes a lot of sense, and he's the one, I do believe he's the one that'll get ignored at the tote board amongst the horses that I think are the main contenders in the year. I think he'll be a price. I don't think you could leave out a horse like Family Biz for Dave Duggan, who has done a really good job with him. He caught Proven Reserves, who was kind of the ringer in that that conditional claim where he came back to drop and win next time out. Did Family Biz. He has a little bit of the break now since March. He's in for the waiver today, having won for 35 last time out and stepping up a little bit in class. And he's another one. He could, you know, he could pocket up and work out the right kind of trip in here if they come back to him. I think he's going to take a little money. That last effort that he put in, I'll tell you what, if Family Biz runs back to his last race, Family Biz is going to win this race.
91 Beyer speed fade. Yeah,
He's
I was too hard on him.
Race.
I should have used him.
He's going to win.
I should have
used him. If he runs back to that last race, that was a very, very good effort. People are going to get thrown by the time. It was winter time at Aqueduct. He ran really, really well second time for Dave last time, and I think he's very dangerous in here as well.
Yeah, certainly since being claimed for this barn, adding the blinkers last couple, he seemed to be at the right level last time out as well. And as you mentioned, off of that kind of layoff, they can be in for the waiver. They don't need to be in for the tag in here for sure. He's definitely this.
Layton could get loose. Listen, Layton could outrun McCarran the first 3/8 of a mile and leave these horses.
You can make an argument for pretty much anybody in here.
No question.
Yeah,
no
for
question
sure.
about it.
Layton first off the claim for Rudy Rodriguez as well. Finished second, first time Rob Atras last time. Second off the bench. We'll see what we get from him.
Second, and this is one of the old Jason Service horses, so keep that in mind going forward.
Yep.
You know, ran well enough for Rob. First time Rudy. Rudy's numbers off the claim are sensational. So, and he's got speed, and speed's always dangerous. And again, this will play into see how this track is playing. I think you have to move up his. You know, he'll be on my. I don't like him overall today. I do think McCarran's going to try and keep him company on the front end, and but if the track's playing the way it was playing yesterday, he's a horse that I think you have to use. Something
to pay attention to for sure. A very interesting 8th race, that's for sure, as we head back to the turf. 9th race up next, allowance race for the New York bred, 7 furlongs on the grass, and Uncle George. I don't know who Uncle George is, but if there is an Uncle George, I'm sure he's very excited, and rightfully so. This was a huge effort first out.
This was a big, big effort. Keep in mind, too, this is part of the cross-country pick 5 today. It starts, this actually wraps up the cross-country today. Starts with the Shakertown at Keeneland, goes to the Robert Dick Memorial down at Delaware Park, and then 2 more at Keeneland, the Jenny Wiley and the Bluegrass, and we'll wrap it up with this New York bred and allowance contest. And here's Uncle George, last 4 or 5 jumps. That was a tough beat. That was a tough beat for second place finish, and then he got disqualified. Listen, this horse made up a ton of ground, passed almost all of his rivals in this stretch to get the money first time out, and he gets an extra 1/8 of a mile today. He's another warrior. He, you know, if he can repeat, and it's so hard to repeat. It's so hard to go through the conditions, especially. But I really liked what I saw last time. I'm always impressed when horses win first time out, because you know how hard it is to win any horse race. To get them ready to win first time out, it's a tough thing to do. He got the job done. I think it was a pretty decent field as well. And keep in mind, he beat Open Company first time out. He's running in the 8th end today against state breds only.
That was one of the things that I thought was interesting, too. And poor Uncle George, he was entered a couple times down in Florida on the turf and open maiden special weight as well.
Yeah, they were ready to
Rained
run
off,
open
so
down
he's
there.
been ready for a while. So he finally got to run there, and he didn't run against New York Breds. Into New York Breds in here today. Christophe Clement has a couple in here. Also has Fly Fly Away. Of course, they have to disco partner back into State Bred Company as well after facing Stakes Company. It'd be interesting to see him as a 3-year-old now.
He's
Certainly
dangerous.
disco partner was ageless.
He's dangerous, like Christophe does. The 2-year-olds don't run with Lasix. He gets Lasix for the first time today. He's got the impeccable pedigree. Yeah, I mean, this horse, he's going to be on all of my tickets, I can tell you that.
The number 3, Sean BC, second off the layoff. I like him stretching out a little bit to the 7 furlongs. I think he's in a good spot here to potentially pick up a piece.
You know, in his last 2 starts, and I know they went a little faster on paper. They went a little faster early, I should say. He just kind of fell out the back.
Yeah.
And for a horse who has never been that far back really in his career, that always bothers me because it happened before he went to the break in October, and it happened when he came back in June. He comes back in 3 weeks. You know, you're going to try and run a horse like him. I don't know if you want to run him 5.5 up at Saratoga. It's really going to be your only option. Charlie Baker hasn't tried to stretch his horse to a 2-turn race to a mile yet here either. So I would think that sprinting is the only option for him right now, apparently. And with his pedigree, I kind of understand that. But I put him second. Believe me, was reluctant. I probably should have put Christophe 1-2 in here because I do not like, his horse has races that make him very competitive in here. I just don't like the habit he's picked up with kind of just falling out of there and letting him run away from him, leaving himself with too much to do. But he gets his friend. He gets the other 1/8 of a mile today as well.
That should be a key for him as well. And you used Big Wonder in there. You're just thinking speed. I mean, he's been able to hold on with some big prices to hit the board.
I feel like when you look at Big Wonder's form, it's like you're looking at a harness horse. He missed a week. I almost threw him out because he missed a week last week.
How dare he?
But yeah, his last 2 races are faster than anything else in here.
He's run 4 times already in 2020.
Yeah, like I said, he qualified back in. For you harness fans, he qualified in May. He ran him. He missed 3 days. He missed a week. He ran him, and he missed a week again. I hope everything's okay that he missed a week.
Oh, I know. Well, don't worry. He's back in case you were missing him in the entries.
There's no any other than tomorrow, so he's not going to be able to run him back tomorrow.
No, he can't. He's got to take a little break now for sure. All right, that's the 9th race. You wrap things up on the main track with the State Bred Maidens. New York Breds taking center stage. $25,000 maiden claiming 6 furlongs in here. Towards the outside, these horses, I thought they looked like some of the more intriguing ones.
A different kind of head scratcher than we faced with the 8th and 9th. Listen, you literally could tell me you're using any of these. And how do you can't really, there's no defense. We found the same 3 horses as the key contenders in here. Yeah, after prom parties, a fresh gelding. He makes a lot of sense. Tried turf back in November. We haven't seen him now. He hasn't run on dirt in almost a year now, a little over 11 months. And I don't like that overall.
Yeah.
That he doesn't debut until he's 4. He debuts at Finger Lakes, and now he's run 4 times. This is going to be his 4th start midway through his 5-year-old season. Fresh gelding. It was kind of hard for me to pull the trigger on him. Lord Camden gets the blinkers on. He's going to go back to dirt. You know, his first dirt race, he ran against 3 jokers. Silly Keys, a New York Bred Stakes winner. Tapazirans won a couple of races this winter. Blinkers go on. He ran him on the Mark Cassie in the barn, and Jamie Berger, who has the horses up here, ran him first time off the turf, off the long break. He's dropping in for the bottom now. He makes some sense. So I went to Warden of the North. It is a Game of Thrones reference.
I was going to say why.
Roose Bolton. First Ned Stark, then Roose Bolton was the Warden of the North. And this is kind of a strange second time Linda.
Yeah, I'll say.
Because Linda did not run this horse first time out. Steve Asmussen did. She claimed this horse. He ran in the Big Boy Mo race, where Big Boy Mo got that great ride from Ray Lou Gutierrez and knifed through the field and got the money. Linda has good numbers off the claim. I mean, it's technically a second time Linda maiden. This horse is running for the second time, and Linda Rice is going to train the horse. You know, more often than not, I feel like when trainers are as good at winning second time out, it's because they, and this is kind of counterintuitive as to why I picked this horse, but it's to get to know them as well.
Sure.
It's a $25,000 maiden claimer. you know, you don't really need to solve the Sphinx here to figure out how to point them left and get to the winner's circle. So I landed with Warden of the North. Those are the 3 contenders. I wouldn't be surprised if Spectre Hennig ran well. Also, is a fresh gelding for Gary Siaka. I wouldn't be surprised if he popped it up. He's 15 to he's the value, I guess, the horse that you can try and spice up the exotics or even get to the winner's circle at a big price.
Yeah, this is an interesting race. Lord Camden, he's 9-2 in the morning line. I found a stat on Mark Cassey. We'll show you just quickly. This is food for thought. Turf to dirt with sprinters in maiden claiming. He wins at 25%. He's 35% of the time in the money, and it is a slightly negative ROI, $1.78. But it seemed to me like it was kind of an all or nothing type of stat, and that's why I felt like it was going to be worthwhile, because he ran okay in that dirt race. He ran against some nice horses. He just didn't really show too much that day, but he's got the blinkers on. He's now a 3-year-old. He's running probably for the right level. He could take a big step forward in a field like this, or he could kind of be off the board at potentially a shorter price.
I mean, you know, the race he ran first time out as a 3-year-old, as a 2-year-old rather, on the dirt, the second start of his career.
Yep.
I mean, if he improves off that, he'll be right there here.
Sure.
The horse we didn't mention, Bank Gala, Jimmie Ferrara's barn, heating up a little bit. Horse caught a couple of wet tracks in his last 2 against special weight. He's not a real drop because he's run for a tag a handful of times already. His tag races are good. I'm just I'm concerned with the 6 furlongs. I think this horse might need a little bit more ground. He's done very little running in the 6 furlong races now. 2 of his sprints did come on those wet tracks. I'm assuming if we don't get any rain by the time the 10th rolls around, we're going to be fast. We've already upgraded to good.
Yeah.
And they're harrowing it, which is a great sign. That probably means the forecast has changed. Andy's not here looking at his phone. My phone's getting a new screen put on for Saratoga. Phone
Is that
trouble
my hint
before
that I'm
Saratoga.
supposed to check the
No,
weather?
you're fine. You're fine. I just noticed that they went to good. So, yeah, I mean, that's a good sign that they're opening the track up, because that probably means that the rain is going away. So
We like that. I see blue skies out there. That's a positive as well. And fun card coming up.
yes, fun card coming up. You know where you got to play it, right?
Naira Bets, obviously. We hope you get signed up. Don't forget, we have that deposit match bonus for you as well. Use promo code MATCH200 on the Naira Bets app or nairabets.com. That's that new members bonus, new members only there. And don't forget about the 50-50-50 today as well, but $50 at each track. $20 bonus. Belmont, Keeneland, and Del Mar. You can do that on the Naira Bets app. Also, Anthony mentioned it earlier, we've got the cross-country pick 5 for you. A couple of graded stakes all over the place. We've got 3 at Keeneland, Robert Dick, which is off the turf at Delaware. And we have that nice allowance race on the turf here at Belmont.
Yeah. And then, you know what? I like the sequence because the bingo, the quote-unquote free bingo squares are not in the sequence, right? Monomoy Girl's not in the sequence. Dunbar Road's not in the sequence. I guess Rushing Falls the closest thing to the...
That's a tough field, though, in the Jenny Wiley.
It's a tough field.
Yeah.
That is a tough, but she came back nicely here in Aboguet, and she makes a lot of sense. She's lost just 1 time down at Keeneland. She's 4 for 5. She's won all of the major races for fillies and mares on the turf at Keeneland. A 4-time stakes winner. I don't know, Wise Dan maybe? I don't know if anybody's won more.
Yeah.
Won more stakes down
I mean,
there.
she's incredible. Looking to, was she 5 now? Looking for another Grade 1 win now at the age of 5.
Yeah. This was fun.
Very fun.
You
We'll
want to do it again tomorrow? Sure.
Yeah,
I'll
deal.
be here.
All right, same
early
time.
Tomorrow.
Early tomorrow.
Not
We have
same
an early
bad time.
post.
Yes.
11:15 we'll be on Talking Horses to wrap up last day of the Belmont Park Spring Meet. We've got America's Day at the Races coming up on FS2 and MSG at 1 p.m. And Anthony, it was fun as always. See you tomorrow.
Send it to the big guy.
All right, John and Brielle coming up next with Scratches and Changes.